Hey there, Fuad. It's Wayne D. I'm going to flip you around, if you don't mind. You are now right-handed, so just pretend you're looking in a mirror. All right. So, watching your swing, I liked a lot of stuff. I think you're doing a nice job on the form. So, three things that I think are key. One is tempo. It's too slow in the backswing, so you got to speed it up. If you watch on my website, if you go to the DVDs or the pivot compression videos, there's one on tempo that I go through how to use the metronome. So I'd like you to give that a shot, because it's definitely, the backswing is can really be sped up. It'll make it a lot more dynamic, and that will be good. So that's one thing. So let's draw a few lines, and you're doing a pretty good job as far as general movement. So I think you'll see that one thing we definitely need to do is get the shaft to come down less steep or less in front of you in the downswing. And one of the ways to do that is to get more pivot movement in the backswing, because the weakness here, when you go back, you don't really get the trunk coil upper against the lower that you could. So when we watch it, so when it starts back, you have a little sit back. You can see the weight going gradually into your heels. So instead of that movement that takes you all the way back here in the takeaway, as you deepen your hips, I'd love for you to still deepen your hips like that, but stay out over the ball. So how are we going to do that? Well, we've got to get you to feel, and you look like you're in really good shape, so you've got to get the feeling that you're going to extend or stretch from the pelvis up through the rib cage, up in here, up in this area of your body. And then you will feel the entire area of the left shoulder get further over as you extend. So I would say reach. That looks, your hands, it's not like you're picking it up. You've got some width there, but right about now, this is where you start to, and you've already started to pull backwards. Now you're going to lift. You're going to go up a little bit too, right here. So you can see the hands will begin to raise so that the progression will go up 10. Your hands are pretty high at address, but it fits you, so that's fine. So I would say a little deeper, but it's extension that's really the key here. We want to get more upper body turn early in the swing. So take a look at how Dustin Johnson will start his swing back with a little more early set, which you don't need to do that. But watch from right here, watch the coil in his upper body. Now, can everybody do that? No, but you could do a lot more of that, right? So the muscles that you're focusing on are you're definitely stretching the lat and the entire shoulder area, but you've got to get the lower back to twist. And then in the downswing, now that you're all stretched and loaded, now you can get the separation which drags the upper body. And when the upper body has some drag to it, the right side, you can delay, and then you could flatten the club a little bit. Because that's really what we need to do. If we go back and look at the down the line swing, and we watch how the club is going to come down. So if you look at where it is now, you can't argue with that. It's right on plane, but where is it? It's tipping out in front of you. So what it needs to, when it starts down, it's a perfect position right there. So, but again, it's not wound up enough. So the club is pointed nicely, your arms are in good shape, you haven't really come out of the box, but you have leaned your weight back into your heels early and lifted up and back a little bit. So we got to stay out over it and coil the upper body. This would be a lot easier if I was moving you around. Right, so we're trying to get the left shoulder more behind the ball, trying to stay bent over, and we're trying to get some coil in there in the rib cage, so that when you start to unwind the right arm, when the left arm is pulled and the upper body is delayed, the right arm can then move more down and forward. So we need what we would call a little upper right arm adduction. It needs to you need to move your upper arm down and forward, so that when the handle moves and it works out toward the ball, the stress on the shaft will send it flatter. Okay, so we're kind of aiming it to get the shaft back here early. And then the idea, when you look at this, what we want to do is we want to start to bow the wrist down. So if we can get the shaft a little flatter, then you can bow that left wrist down. That's called wrist flexion. You're going to start to bend it to close the face. So what we're going on, what we're doing here is we're keeping the wrist cupped, and then you end up with a release that is forced to throw. So if the left wrist stays cupped, the club is going to stay open, and then you have to throw the club. So when you watch your lower body as you go through it, we want to keep that leg back more inside of the box. So we want everything going back this way. So take a look. I'm going to run through a couple of drills. This is one, you've seen this at John's house, where he uses the stick. So the idea here is to keep the bend in the lower body. That's Dick Mast. He played the tour for a long time. So you can see how nicely he stays bent over the ball. So here's a few punch shots. These are a few different ones. So a punch shot, by definition, is going to go back to left arm parallel. and finish where the shaft is parallel to the ground. So this is what I would call a preset punch shot. So watch what I do here. I set up normal, and then I'm going to cock the club, and I'm going to leave the hands right in front of the ball when I do that. Now, in this particular one, I'm also presetting my lower body into a approach position. So I'm going to lean it, twist it, and get the hands nice and forward. See that? Now I'm trying to get back. Notice how I go back into neutral here. That's a key thing in this drill. So from forward we go back to neutral and then back again with the hips. Now watch where the hands are. So I'm going to strike this ball with a good amount of forward lean, but also notice that my nose is still to the right of the ball. So this is where we're going to get some real nice compression. So what we're talking about is trying to hit the ball with the right wrist bent and the left wrist more flat. So this would be called a drive, hold, release. That's going to give you a lot better compression into the ball. So here's another one. So this is just me hitting a regular punch shot. So we're going to get that early stretch. We're only going to take the club back to left arm parallel, and when you swing you usually get your club cocked up fine, as you can see. So this would be about the length of your punch shot swing. And then I'm going to come down and get my hands in front of this thing. Now here's another one where I'm going to hit the ball with my right hand only. That would obviously be your left. So I'm going to set up, narrow stance. This is for a pitch, and I'm going to take the club back and I'm going to hit it one-handed and take a look at how the right wrist is bent when I hit it. And just remember, the face is being closed by the left. The right hand is trying to stay driving forward, and the club is always going to arc around. Alright, so I want you to practice staying bent over and stretching it out in the backswing. And I want you to do some of these punch shots. Here's a down the line view. So you can see we don't need a ton of shifting of the shaft, but this is what we're looking for. We're looking for better stretch and sequence, and then we want that shaft to lay back a little bit. And then as you can see, the left wrist is going to flatten and arc through the ball. So speed your swing up eventually. You can work on that separately, but make sure you get it nice and stretched. You can do some stop and goes to get that feeling of stretch. Here's another view. Look at how he's using that upper body. Look at the reach. And then there's that delay. You're going to use that stick, try to stay in the box so you can stay bent over and work on that impact, work on a couple of those impact drills. Alright?